Okay, there's Mike. Okay.
Paul, if you leave, will you be able to hear or see if somebody's trying to join? Because
I always monitor. So
okay, because I'm not sure I can do that and take minutes at the same time.
No, I'll get people in. No worries about that. All right, Mr. Gear, you are ready. Whenever you're ready, we are ready for you. There, you can start your meeting.
Wonderful. All right, if we got everybody here, we got quorum. We should be good to go. My name is Michael Gear, as chairman. I call this regularly scheduled meeting, the Historic District Commission, to order this 11th day of February 2021. There is a quorum present. The roster of the staff to the commission, of the commission members, and the technical posts that they fill in accordance with the requirements of the Hagerstown zoning ordinance are on file with the city of Hagerstown, are available on request of any applicant, and are hereby made a part of the legal record of each and every application heard today. All decisions are rendered or based on the Secretary of Interior's standards and guidelines as adopted by the city of Hagerstown. Each decision is made on a case-by-case basis and is not intended to be precedent setting. If you have any cell phones or electronic devices, please try to make sure that they have been silenced. Please note that this meeting is being recorded on YouTube and is live, so please keep that in consideration. We have two types of cases: consent agenda and design review. During our consent agenda, I'll ask anybody in our audience if they have any issues with these particular consent agenda items. If not, then we'll ask commission members if they have any issues with these particular cases. If there are no issues, then we will blanket approve those cases, and those applicants will be free to leave the meeting. For design reviews, when your case is called, please join with the commission. For the record, please state your name and address. There will be a brief synopsis of your application from the staff consultant. After that, the floor will then be turned over to the applicant for any further elaboration, and then the floor will then be open for discussion by the commission members prior to rendering a decision on that application. At this time, we have approval of the minutes for, one second. Great screen here. January 20. Any commission members, any modifications, adjustments, revisions? So state, otherwise we'll entertain a motion to adopt.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is Doug?
It's been second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Any against? Hearing none, although the motion carries. At this time, flip back here. Agenda. We have consent agenda items. HDC case 2021-07 for 202 South Potomac Street for a fence. HDC case 2021-08 for 151 South Potomac Street for signage. And the previous case 2021-07 is actually South Prospect Street. HDC case 2021-09, 14 North Potomac Street for an awning. And HDC case 2021-10 for 151 South Potomac Street for a site plan approval for the parking lot. I take it nobody in our audience here today is here to speak out against those particular cases.
Mr. Chairman? Hey, Mike, we have a minor amendment to the sign for Hub Bubbles at 151 South Potomac Street. Mr. Barry reached out to me yesterday and he got a price quote for directly painting the sign onto that signboard that's across the front of the building rather than have it manufactured and then adhered. He would like the option to go with either or. Staff has no objection, but the application is amended as such. So it may be pre-made and then put up in sections on the signboard, or it may be painted directly onto the signboard. Staff's only comment is that they should leave the frame around the signboard alone. Just the flat surface should be painted, and then the frame around it left alone.
All right. Commission members, any concerns with any of these particular cases?
I have
I have
none.
one question.
Right.
I have a question on 120, excuse me, on 151 South Potomac. I think this may have come up before, but the signage on the side of the building that directed people to parking in the rear, as well as an advertising sign. Have we had any follow-up on the removal of that to avoid overage signage on the building as a whole?
I have informed Mr. Barry that that signage should have been taken down many years ago. Our ordinance is actually when a business is no longer there for signage to be removed. There's also limitations on the amount of signage that you can have on a building. If they're putting the sign up across the front of the building, the signs on the side will throw it over, so they'll need to come down anyway. Mr. Barry's
Okay.
kind of asking questions about it. It's not entirely resolved, but we specifically set this up today to where those signs on the side of the building are not part of this application. So one way or the other, he's going to have to come back or take it down as directed. We're kind of getting that worked out with him outside of this process.
Thank you.
All right. Any other concerns with any of these applications?
I just wanted to check with Mr. Barry to make sure that I summarized that change in the application that he sent to me yesterday. Mr. Barry, did I describe that correctly? Not getting into the stuff on the side of the building?
Right. That's perfect.
Okay.
Yep. I would prefer to paint it on there, but it is a substantial, it's twice as expensive. But I think it'll look great if it looks like Hub City Vinyls, how they did theirs. But the grout lines are a little funny, so I got to talk to the sign guys. But we went with the panels, but I'd like to paint it.
All right. Well, the way we have amended the application, it gives you an either or to choose from later. You don't have to come back. You just pick one or the other.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right, commission members, hearing no other comments, will entertain a motion. Please note in that motion that the application for the signage for HTC case 2021-08 has been amended.
This is Doug. What is that amendment exactly again? Steve was a little garbled.
The amendment is for the sign on the front of Hub Bubbles, the option of painting the sign directly into the signboard rather than the initial of doing it in panels that would be adhered to the existing signboard. It amends the application to allow them the option to do either or. So if it's approved, they may end up painting the sign directly onto the signboard, or they may end up doing it on sign panels that would be adhered to the signboard. The building has a built-in masonry signboard running across most of the front of the building.
So there's an existing board there. So he can either install panels or actually paint the sign.
Correct. And it'll be within the existing frame.
I got it.
Anyone wishing to make the motion, please?
So Mike, you want a motion on all four of these?
Yeah, one motion can cover all four.
Is that correct? Okay. All right, I can go. All right, Mr. Chairman, I've reviewed the material submitted in case number HDC 2021 tag 07 with the amendment that the front sign be painted or panels installed in the existing location. HDC 2021 tag 08, HDC 2021 tag 09, HDC 2021 tag 10. And its associated staff report and recommendations. I have viewed the properties in question. Staff report recommends approval of this application as consistent with the applicable standards adopted by this commission, and no one has appeared at this hearing with concerns about, issues with, or objections to this application. Therefore, I move that this commission adopt staff evaluation and recommendations in this cases as its own and grant certificates of appropriateness to the applicant for cases number HDC 2021 tax 07 with the amendment previously mentioned, HDC 2021 tax 08, HDC 2021 tax 09, and finally HDC 2021 tax 10.
Is there a second?
Second with a comment.
Mike, did you get me loud and clear?
Yeah, I got that. If we have a second and the question, I just want to make sure clarification.
Yeah, the
HDC
comment being HDC 2021-08 is the one that we have amended for an either or as far as how the sign is applied to the building.
Correct. You okay with that, Mr. Carroll? I think you were tagging it to the 07. It should, the amendment would be to the 08 project.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Oh, I see. Yes, sorry. I had the wrong number. You're correct.
All right. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Any abstentions? Any nays? Hearing none, motion carries. All right, those applicants for those particular cases, if you wish to continue listening in, you're welcome to. Otherwise, we'll move on to the design review. HDC case 2021-06 for 45 West Washington Street for the city of Hagerstown, a street wall, I guess facade design.
Has Rodney signed in yet?
Yes, I think he has.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here, Steve.
Okay, I'll move forward then. This is HDC case 2021-06. The applicant is the City of Hagerstown Parks and Engineering Department. Property is located at 45 West Washington Street. This is in the downtown historic district. It's not a resource because its building was demolished. It was a B resource. Photograph of the space is shown on page 1 of your staff report. The design guidelines applicable are pages 13 through 16, page 18, and pages 37 to 39 in the downtown downtown design guidelines. The description of work and plans. The building on this property was demolished. The application is for the building of a facade replacement, a dumpster enclosure, and the location of future signage. The new street wall will measure 28 feet high, 37 feet wide, and 32 inches thick. The proposed materials for the wall include handmade Glengarry brick in rose full range as far as the material color. The architectural stone elements will be a buff color to blend with the mortar and will be located under the east window of the first floor and on the sills of the second floor windows, and as a masonry cap on the very top of the wall. All windows will have brick headers. There will be a cast concrete signboard across the top of the opening in a custom font to be determined later. Above the cast concrete signboard will be 5 gooseneck barn lights in black. 2 projecting signs are proposed. Graphics will be approved at a later date. The sign on the left will be a hat shape to mimic a historic sign on the right, and the sign on the right will be on the cultural trail. Excuse me 1 second, I did not turn off my phone. My apologies. Anyway, the two projecting signs, the one on the left, both of them will come back later for final approval of design, but the one on the right will be a square and will have the corporate branding of the cultural trail. The one on the left will be ultimately be a top hat shaped sign that says Hatters Plaza with like an arrow or a hand pointing to it to mimic the historic sign that was there during the Civil War period. A brick and stone cast concrete dumpster enclosure will be built at the back of the site and will be secured by an ornamental metal gate. The two-story facade was designed. The two-story facade was designed with input from the planning staff and also from you all. You all had a concern about leaving a hole in the streetscape. This is specifically been designed to address your concerns. It approximates the first 2 floors of the building that was removed to reflect the original construction of it as a 2-story building in the 1830s. The second floor window openings are intentionally not symmetrically spaced as they're based on actual measurements of the original facade made before it was demolished. This addresses your concern that you had expressed in the past that the space not be left with another open hole in the streetscape. The proposed faux facade fills the opening up to the top of a second level and is designed to be itself used as a tool in explaining the history of the site. And what that means is you can look at this facade and tell people prior to the Civil War, when the second floor was raised and the third floor was put on, this is what the front of the building looked like as far as size, brick material, and openings. And then using a photograph, you can also explain what the building looked like during the Civil War with the third floor on it, because the historic photographs do exist. Staff recommends that the cultural trail sign board either be centered over the right-hand opening into this park or centered over the width of the entire facade. Its off-center appearance compromises the intent that it approximates a storefront sign, which would have centered over a storefront or centered on the facade. So staff is recommending approval, subject to your review of those proposed materials, which you received materials on in your package. Basically the thought is on the signboard that says cultural trail, that's going to be a masonry custom-made cast sign. It either ought to be centered on the whole thing or just centered over the opening. And just to give you a little bit of background, the trail, if you walk into the plaza to use the trail is going to be coming out if you're looking at it from Washington Street in the right-hand opening. The left-hand opening, if you notice, has a masonry sill, basically like a window level sill to it. It's made of a different material to differentiate it from the rest of the facade. But if you're walking into the park or into the plaza from the street, you're walking through the right-hand wide opening. And that's all I got. And if Rodney has anything he wants to add, here's the time.
I would say the only comment, good evening, everybody. The only thing I would say about the sign is I think the architect centered it over the 2 openings that you could use to enter the trail, the one on the right and then what would be like a person-sized door in the middle. You could enter the trail in either one of those openings. So I think he centered it over the 2 openings, but I'm okay centering over like it is drawn or centering it over the larger opening. I think either one would be acceptable to me. That's all I have.
All right, commission members. Any comments, concerns?
I'm fine with, oh, sorry.
This is Doug. I don't have any concerns. I like it. It's nice to put something there, especially going back to meet the original 1830 look. That's good.
Leslie, did you
Can you hear me?
say something?
Yeah, I'd like I'm fine with it, and I like the way the sign is depicted over the door in the center as well. With the windows being irregularly placed on the second floor, there is a challenge there for some sort of eye appeal, but I like it going over to the door in the center. That's it.
So if I'm understanding what you were saying, you wanted the sign more centered in the middle of the building or just keeping it where it's indicated right now?
Where it's indicated now.
Okay. Other comments?
Nope.
I have no comments either.
Is there a time, Mr. Doug, is there a time for construction to start pending this approval? What's the
Yeah,
time frame?
there's a lot of moving parts to this project with multiple funding grants and things that we're getting. I have a lot of land issues that we still have to settle on. We've been working on this for 3 years, but I think it's all going to come to a point here where we're planning to bid the project in 2 weeks, and we're hoping to start construction in June and finish it over the summer. We want to be done by September before, God willing, that the kids are back in school at BISPA and we have to deal with buses and back of the house services for the Maryland Theater and the Barbara Ingram School. So our goal is June through August.
All right. Hearing no other comments, sounds like everybody was in agreement with the application.
Okay. And by the way, we are going to be receiving a site plan shortly for the park. The site plan will be run by you before it is approved as well. So you're going to be able to see the whole thing as a project a little bit later. But this allows them to get moving with the wall. And Rodney, I asked the Planning Commission yesterday if they want to see the site plan before you start building the wall. And they said, given the limited disturbance, you're talking something that's 3 feet wide and 30 feet long. They said you can start on the wall before they need to see the site plan if you need to get moving on it.
Okay.
All right.
We'll probably submit the site plan before we'd actually get started on anything.
Okay.
All right, commission members. Buddy, ready to make a motion then?
I'll make a motion. Mr. Chairman, I have reviewed the material submitted in case number HDC 2021-06 and its associated staff report and recommendations. I have viewed the property in question. The staff report recommends approval of this application as consistent with the applicable standards adopted by this commission, and no one has appeared at this hearing with concerns about issues with or objections to this application. Therefore, I move that this commission adopt the staff evaluation and recommendations in this case as its own and grant a certificate of appropriateness to the applicant for case number HDC 2021-06.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, has been moved and seconded for approval of the motion. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, so based on that, is the sign okay the way it's drawn, or per what Steve recommended of either moving it or shrinking it?
I believe the commission decided that this current location is acceptable.
Thank you.
That's what Leslie said.
All right. At this time, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. All right. So that should conclude our design reviews and consent agenda items. I think everything's been approved. At this point, we have no workshops. Any new business that needs to be brought before the commission?
I have none.
All right, we'll move on. Any old business that needs to be brought before the commission? Okay, any announcements? Okay, quiet crowd today. Moving right along then. The next meeting would be February 25th at 4:30. At this point, if there's no other business to,
I do. I apologize.
I was wondering, your case has actually been approved. Do you have a question?
Well, that's what I just wanted to double check because it breezed right through and I was like,
Yep.
I was expecting questions or something. So this is great. Thank you.
Yep, you're good to go. So we'll get you a signed application or this approved application back to you here very shortly. It'll take a day or so, but we will get that back to you.
Great. Thank you very much.
All right, have a good evening. All right, commission members, if there's nothing else, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we
So
adjourn.
moved.
All right, it's been moved
Second.
second. Good to go. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.